Let's go over how to figure out the approximate number of gallons in a pond. Knowing the number of gallons in a pond is important because we want to make sure that we spec out a pump that will circulate all of the water at least once an hour and that we will have the right sized filters to keep that amount of water clean. We have a simple equation that is used to figure out the approximate gallons in a pond. This equation is not exact, but certainly gets us close. Length times width times 80% is the first part. Multiply that by the average depth of the pond, and finally multiplied by 7.48. If we break it down, we see the first part of the equation is length times width of the pond multiplied by 80%. This will give us our square footage. We multiply by 80% because the pond is a free-form shape. It's not a perfect rectangle. We then multiply the square footage by the average depth of the pond. We say the average depth and not the maximum depth. The average depth of a 2-foot deep pond would then be 1 foot deep. Once we have taken the square footage and multiplied it by the average depth, we then now have what is called the cubic footage. Now all we have to do is multiply that by the 7.48. The 7.48 now represents the number of gallons in 1 cubic foot, and that will tell us how many gallons we have in a pond. Let's try an example. Try and figure out how many gallons there will be in this pond. Just plug in the numbers into the equation and see what you come up with. Once you have your answer, go to the next slide. When we plug in the numbers to the equation, we come up with about 2,010 gallons of water for this water feature. Remember that we multiplied by the average depth, which would be 1 in this case, not the 2. Now that we can figure out the number of gallons in a pond, move on to the next section.